mama love is always number one, but she was the closest I could get to that in a woman's form because that's just how much I felt she loved me and I loved her. But when she passed, like I said, it's a touchy subject. But when she passed, I got a call. I got a call from Lord, that's how you made me in my heavens. I know I did some dirt and I ain't innocent. In isolation as I reminisce, the real reason you niggas switch. It was all about the Benjamin. It's up. Hey, what's going on? Y'all know what it is. Y'all rocking with another one, K74. First and foremost, I'm hoping everybody's in good spirits. I'm having a great day, so the weather's finally getting back nice. First it was snowing, it got nice, then it started raining here in New York City, then certain areas got flooded. So it's been up and down, but today is a beautiful day, and I said, let me do a video. It's a topic that I've been meaning to talk to you guys about, and this is more so for people that's in New York City. I ride this subway in New York City. Do I have my license? Can I drive? Yes, I got my CDL license. I just know from being a New Yorker, to me, knowing the ins and outs of traveling here, that it's always been better for me to do the subway. To me, is my number one. Yes, it can be dangerous at times, but for the most part, if you just mind your business, stay to yourself, you should be okay. And it does be officers on certain platforms. So despite what you see online on the news, it is safety in the subway. So with that being said, that's how I travel. But and then I have one of my aunts that was so close to me that's no longer with us. She worked for MTA, um, the booth. She used to work in the booth. And I used to love going to that booth. Why? To see my aunt interact with them customers, and like I just seen her. I got to see her personality because anybody that came to that booth for information, she, even if she would have like gave you a little hard time or whatever, because that was just part of who she was, But it was never no hard feelings. It was all just just part of how she felt you out. She gave you all the information you needed, and by the time you left, best believe you knew what direction you was going, and you was headed in the right direction. That's what I love watching about my aunt and seeing her out there, because it taught me a lot. Fast forward to 2026, I have an issue. I haven't been in New York for some years now, so a lot of things I'm still catching up on, as far as a lot of things that change. And one of the things is the Omni cards. I'm not. I don't. I knew about the Metro cards, so you know, is an Omni card that they have now, and it's a bit of a system that I'm not used to. Not saying that it's a hard system to get to learn, and it's just I'm not used to. So long story short, I go to the booth and I'm letting the guy know I'm not gonna the booth on in the subway. They have these stalls that's booths. For those that don't know how they look, I'll put them up and show you on the screen. My New Yorkers that know, they know what I'm talking about. So I go to the booth, I knock, and I'm telling them, I'm having an issue. I'm like, yo, you know what? I got the money on me right here. Let me just give you the cash. No, we don't take cash. We don't do nothing. I don't know. You gotta, it was it was, it was a guy that really, he said he didn't know how to solve my issue, which he probably didn't. He was an older Indian guy, middle aged Indian guy, and he probably didn't know, because I asked him, I'm like, you here, you can't help me. Y'all don't take change, and you can't even get change from y'all like that. Y'all don't deal with money anymore. Just somebody answer me out there, because a lot of probably other New Yorkers probably went through what I went through, and a lot of New Yorkers just want to know what's the purpose. Like I asked them, I said, so what are you here for? Literally, like y'all don't do anything with the public anymore. What are you here for? Because, like I said, I couldn't get help, and it's a total difference. It was a time where you can actually go to the booth, get some interaction with a person. We all know at the end of the day, if you want that bag, it's certain things you got to do. You feel me? So it's like they dealt with it, and I respected it. You know what I mean? Like a lot of respect for the MTA. The older MTAs, the ones who's working in '90s, early 2000s, those MTA workers was real because they actually dealt with New York City people. So you had to be, it wasn't like now where it's like you could hide behind the booth and then close it. You know what I mean? It's something new now. But them old workers, they that's the MTA I know. The real MTA I would call it, because like I said, they dealt with the people. Sometimes the lines would be long on the booth because, you know, it was before machines was even big like that. You know what I mean? So they was actually, you actually had to go and deal with the it's been so long I forgot even what they call those people in the booth. Um but yeah, so I mean now that's just what I wanted to touch on. It isn't much, but like I said, it's just something I want to get off my chest. I'm bringing it to the audience, those that rock with me, that's in NYC, always representing. Shout out to the Knicks because yo, we are going to the finals, and I definitely got to shout that out. Like I said, man, everybody's on the up and up. It's a good vibe in the city right now. We on a winning team. Yo, that's, you can't beat it. So that just says a lot, know what I mean, about what's going on here in New York City right now. Like lately, something's been, I've been wanting to speak on a certain subject because, like I said, like since I'm talking about my aunt and she worked with the MTA, like it's just bringing some things up, you know, about it's just bringing old feelings up. You know what I mean? Because you know, for those that don't know, that y'all probably do if y'all rock with me and y'all seen some of my videos that I did earlier on. That I lost my mom's at an early age, and I was incarcerated. On top of that, I was incarcerated and everything like that. So when I got out from doing my time, I was a young man, and who filled that place for me was my aunt that I'm talking about, that was working in MTA and everything like that. I'm talking about like the moment she passed away, it showed me that you really don't know who your family is. She loved me with all her heart. Like we loved each other. Like I said, that was like my second mom's. I would call her my second mom's because she gave me that. She was the closest to, like, mama love is always number one, but she was the closest I could get to that in a woman's form, because that's just how much I felt she loved me and I loved her. But when she passed, like I said, it's a touchy subject. But when she passed, I got a call. I got a call from my dad. It was his youngest sister, and he called and he was like, because after she passed away, um, I took a trip after the funeral or before the funeral. Took a trip to Punta Cana. How I do now, for those that know me, like I did a whole vlog on Colombia. You know what I mean? And before going to Punta Cana, I already been out the country like a couple times already. So people in my people, that's how I know. Like I said, that just because you have family, that don't mean they know who you are. But my aunt, we had that relationship. Like she knew was that. Like I would talk to her about stuff that I wouldn't talk to nobody about, and she would tell me things that she felt like it was just between me and her. And I felt that connection. When she passed, like I said, I got a call from my dad saying once I got back from DR, he asked me, "Did you take any money?" And I'm like, "What? Like, what you talking about?" Like, word is going around that you might have stole some money from your aunt. That's how you was able to go on a trip. So I'm like, word. I'm like, at this point, I'm highly just disappointed that I'm mourning my aunt. That's like a second mom to me, like her death. Somebody in my family on top of that was just so wicked enough to throw dirt on my name in the midst of that. To what my father's calling me confronting because he heard some stuff in the wind. So I'm like, well, I'm like, yo, you know what I mean? Like, you don't even know the half of like what I went through to even get to DR. You feel me? Like, you don't even know, but it's nobody business. But one thing I do know, I would never ever steal for family. I would never steal from anybody because, like I said, they don't know me, so they wouldn't know that I grew up around real ones locked up. That we don't respect the sneak thief, so they don't know those type of rules. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, I was kind of like the black sheep that was getting locked up early on, and my family really they wasn't into that, and if they was, they never got locked up. I don't regret nothing because I don't got those ways. You feel me? Like I said, so at the end of the day, they would know like we don't respect sneak thieves. If I'ma take something, you like for somebody to like in the world I come from, like the only way you get respected, you gotta take it. Sneak thieves, they in the they basically in the category as all the other weird stuff that nobody respects in prison. So that's why I was so like so they was just offending me on so many levels. You know what I mean? So and then the crazy thing is like just you'll throw the rock and hide your hand. I asked Pops like, yo, who is it? Like who's don't who's spreading this? And Pops was like, yo, just don't worry, leave it alone. Like I'm like, all right, say no more. This showed me a lot about who you call family because to this day, it's somebody out there that that threw it out there, and it's easy to say leave it alone if it ain't you. I understand, but at the end of the day, I'm just always looked at it from my point of view. Like you feel me, like and like I said, how I grew up. If somebody come to me, one of my homies or whatever, heard something in the yard, he got it shaken because he heard somebody say something about like he's gonna handle it, let the people know what's going on too, who's saying what, and all like what I mean. We putting it all out there, and people think they could just go around you like everything is all good and it's okay, leave it alone without coming to that man and apologizing. Like yo, I was the one that said it. At the time I didn't know, but that just go to show like just because people get fam, that don't mean that's that same y'all pumping that same type of blood. You feel me? Like so to what? Cause I know that's what I would do. You feel me? So, but I'm like, yo, we all family. Shouldn't everybody would do? But no, that's not the case. It's all about what type of environment and people you was raised around. You know what I mean? Like, because there's nothing wrong with confronting someone, about something that they actually did. What's wrong is lying on someone and doing dirt on somebody's name. And then on top of that, it's like nobody telling you nothing, so you don't know who's really saying what. That's not how family should be. You know what I mean? And I'm the one saying it. You know what I mean? It's a new generation coming up under me, and one thing about it, I'm gonna try to spit it to them as real as possible. Like, we all grown, we all fam. You should be able to talk to your family. You know what I mean? And that's just the bottom line. Um, so I'm just hoping everybody gets better with that. If anybody out there is going through that, you know what I mean? I just definitely encourage you to get better with that. Make amends with family. Like, I got love for my family forever. But like I said, it's just hard to move around knowing that that's been going around, circulating around. You feel me? So it's like people looking at you a certain way, and it's all it's all a facade. It's all phony. You know what I mean? Because it's like y'all don't really rock with me, and really, to me, how I'm thinking in my head is like y'all probably feel like I'm a thief or something. Like, to spread something like that around the family, and really only my pops coming to me. I do respect him on that. At least he did come to me and say it, because I know if it got to him, it got to a lot of other people in the family. You know what I mean? But he was the only one I could say real enough to at least tell me that was going around. Other than that, I would have just been around people. You know what I mean? And this that's not official. And I want to let you know it's okay to analyze your life, figure it out, and then move on. No, I let it go, but I'ma still speak on it because there might be somebody out there that's going through it, and this is how I'm dealing with it. Forgive, let it go. I know that that's not true. It's like when people see you doing things, they feel like the only way you could do those things if you still, and I know a lot of it deals with the stigma of you getting locked up. You know what I mean? Like, so people they never got locked up, so they're gonna always think the worst, or whatever, people, society telling them, the same society is setting people up to lock them up. They're gonna say, yo, they bad, don't, you know what I mean? Whatever the case. But they going off of that stigma. You know what I mean? So I understand, but for those that don't know me, that is family. Keep watching and get to really know who I am. You know what I mean? That goes for family too, because obviously y'all really don't know who I am. So that's the beauty of this content, because just as my fans could get to know me, family that don't know me or really know me, they can get to know me too. So that's the gift of the internet, because they say it's a gift and a curse. So, with that being said, I just want to end it. It's been great talking to you guys, because, it's been a minute. I've been handling things. I got a lot of great ideas coming. Like, this is my weather right here. For those that don't know, I might have not mentioned it on the channel, but yo, this is my weather when it's sunny, hot, sweaty, tans. This is my weather right here. And between that and a very peaceful, quiet environment, I feel like I just, like, the creativity just flows like water. So I feel it a little something. So with that being said, y'all already know K74. Y'all stay up.